A few years back, we started taking extended trips driving into wine country. While wine country was the draw, the fact is that to get to wine country, you often have the opportunity to drive through some pretty beautiful places. We planned our travel on the scenic highways and byways along the way, allowing us to soak in some of the beautiful scenery. In 2018, we attended the Wine Media Conference in Walla and did a pre-conference excursion to the Yakima Valley. We met Barbara Glover, who runs Wine Yakima Valley, and she introduced us to many of the local winemakers. The visit was just enough to whet our appetite, and we made a plan to return. Here begins the Scenic Route. This 2-week road trip packed in multiple wineries and some amazing scenery as we traveled from Las Vegas to Washington State. We headed north through the starkly beautiful Death Valley, up Highway 395, past Mono Lake and the east entrance to Yosemite, before finding our way to Lake Tahoe to stay for the night. Day 2 took us past Lassen Volcano, Mount Shasta when it had snow on the top, and finally to our first wine region of the trip, the Applegate Valley in southern Oregon. Our first stop was Wooldridge Creek Winery and Creamery. Where we met some of the locals. They not only make wine at Wooldridge Creek, they also make cheese. Then it was on to Red Lily, where you can taste their wines on the banks of the Applegate River. Our third day began our winemaker interviews with Bill Steele, the founder of Cowhorn Winery, who owned this biodynamic vineyard at the time. We then headed north to the Umpqua Valley and spoke with Marc Giraudet, who's taken over his father's historic winery. His father was the first to plant Baca Noir in this region. After spending the night in nearby Roseburg, we bypassed Portland and Mount Hood and headed through the stunning Columbia Gorge, taking in some of the waterfalls and doing a bit of early morning hiking, before crossing the gorge to the Washington side.
In 800 feet, your destination will be on the left.
And visiting Syncline Winery. Owner and winemaker James Mantone walked us to the vineyard where the grapes have a stunning view of the magnificent gorge.
So like that ferment will be all head trained to Carol Blake, so just like this.
Perfect. The afternoon took us to the eastern end of the Yakima Valley to Kitsky Cellars near Candy Mountain. We had a fascinating vineyard walk with winemaker Seth Kitsky. We were off to the other end of the Yakima Valley to visit the iconic Red Willow Vineyard. We spoke with owner Mike Sauer and his son Jonathan, who filled us in on the history of the Yakima Valley wine region. We finished the day taking in sunset by the chapel on their chapel block. Day 5 had us up early to catch sunrise at Willow Ridge Vineyard in the Natchez Heights AVA, just west of the city of Yakima. After a quick breakfast, we met Justin Newfield at Gilbert Cellars to speak about his Cabernets at JP Newfield. We met Barbara Glover of Wine Yakima Valley at Stem's Wine Shop in Yakima to catch up on what was happening in Yakima wine. Lunch took us to Los Hernandez for their prize tamales. This unassuming cinderblock building south of Yakima was honored by the James Beard Foundation in 2018 as one of a handful of American classics. We stopped at nearby Treveri Cellars for some sparkling wine before heading to a sit-down tasting at Owen Row. Day 6 had us visiting 3 AVAs and covering over 100 miles. We began with a trip to Roskamp Vineyards in the Snipes Mountain AVA, where we took a vineyard tour with Co Din of Co Din Cellars. Co pointed out the geology of the Yakima Valley, the folds in the earth and the granite boulders that were pulled into the valley through the Missoula floods. Our second AVA of the day was Red Mountain, where we took in the stunning French-style chateau that is the Hedges family tasting room. We met with winemaker Sarah Hedges Goodhart. Sarah was converting the family vineyards to biodynamic. Our day was not over. Now was the longer drive east to Walla Walla, where we met with Tim Armstrong and his wife Jennifer on their Valley Grove vineyard and discussed what brought him to winemaking.
Land, right? I mean, this is agriculture, and it has been agriculture, and so it's just really neat to have that history here and be able to kind of, tell a story about how, it wasn't grapes, but people have been farming here for a really long time, and so we like the historical character that barn brings to the property and how it ties us to the history of the place.
Day 7 began with a side trip to Spain in the Walla Walla Valley with Valdemar. This Rioja-based winery decided to set down some new roots in the Walla Walla Valley and explore what this region had to offer. We spoke with Kaylee, the Valdemar Estate Hospitality Director, and toured their winery. Meeting assistant winemaker Devyanik Gupta. We spent the afternoon wandering in charming downtown Walla Walla, where they have over 30 tasting rooms. And we finished the day picking up dinner in a gas station. Not just any gas station. This, at the time, was home to Andre's Kitchen. Andre Bopp has an amazing resume as a chef, but here he keeps it delicious and real with dishes like poutine and tacos. He has since moved to a new downtown location. Day 8 had us up early to drive back to the Yakima Valley to meet with Carrie Shields of Cote Bonneville and visit their estate vineyard, De Brule, in the Rattlesnake Hills AVA.
The Syrah's, facing this way. So it's not as southerly of an exposure as the Cab. And the difference, especially with the cool nights, the difference in heat accumulation over the course of the day is pretty significant. And I mean, you can feel it, just the difference between over there and over here. You can feel it walking.
Yeah.
So I usually like to make people walk around the vineyard because you can feel
the difference.
If you're paying attention, you can feel the temperature profile difference, and then sum that up over the course of the day and the season, and that's why you can grow Chard and Cab.
It is an amazing thing to be able to grow Chard and Cab in the same place. It's just kind of astounding,
And Riesling.
We headed back through the Columbia Gorge to Hood River to visit Hayu Wine Farm. With vineyard views of Mount Hood, Hayu Farm grows more than just grapes. They raise ducks, goats, cattle, and have wild and beautiful gardens filled with produce and herbs. After a tour of the property, we did a seated tasting and pairing, featuring chef-created bites that were seasonal from the property. As we made our way to the Willamette Valley, we took in the sights of majestic Mount Hood. Day 9 took us to the Van Duzer Corridor AVA in the Willamette Valley. We met with Jack at Johan Vineyard, where they work with biodynamics and natural style winemaking. Jack showed us some newly grafted over vines, and showed us where they're inoculating old oak stumps to grow mushrooms. Our afternoon took us to the ocean. From where we were in the Van Duzer Corridor, it was a little more than an hour's drive to get to Lincoln City on the coast, where we took in the beach and had dinner on the water. Day 10 took us back to the Applegate Valley to meet with Herb Quaddy of Quaddy North. We discussed his sustainable packaging while sitting on his patio with his dogs. He took the time to walk us through May's Vineyard, named for one of his daughters. Our last stop in Southern Oregon was in the quaint town of Jacksonville, where we did a tasting in the Quaddy North tasting room. Day 11 was our drive back south, past Mount Shasta, and into the beauty of Yosemite, from the spectacular Bridalveil Falls to the towering giant sequoias of the Mariposa Grove. Immersing yourself in this natural beauty is the perfect way to end a road trip. This was where the Scenic Route began. We found delicious local food, stunning scenery, and our days were filled with wine and stories. We were able to soak in the sense of place in each of these regions. Our Scenic Route trips have allowed us to visit so many wineries with stories to tell, and we wanted to tell them in more depth. So we decided to create an expanded version of the Scenic Route, revisiting and exploring the area in and around wine regions. These are beautiful places because good grapes enjoy a view. We will be stopping to hike, explore, relax, and eat, all while exploring wine regions around the world. We invite you to come along as we visit wine regions in California, Oregon, Washington, and other places around the globe. There are some wonderful untold stories to share with you from our Aussie Wine Adventure in 2019. We'll be making stops in Santa Barbara wine country, as well as to Napa and Sonoma, and we have only hit the tip of the iceberg in the wine regions of the Columbia Gorge, Yakima Valley, Walla Walla, and the Willamette Valley. Join us as we take the Scenic Route.